Good morning. I am Jenny Hobbs, and I serve on the board of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church. I welcome everyone to our service this morning and welcome visitors to our open and inclusive community of faith. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many spiritual paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another as we each explore these paths. I would like to especially welcome our guests and welcome again those who have visited us before. Visitors, it is the custom of our congregation to invite you to stand and give your name and where you are from if you feel comfortable doing so. Are there any visitors who would like to introduce themselves? Yeah, stand, please. Hi.
I'm Brad, this is Natasha. We're actually returning visitors, but we're living down this road. We've been here before, but it's been so.
Wonderful, welcome back. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Ben. This is my mom, Anna. We live here in Naperville. It's our first time here.
Welcome.
Hi. I'm Nicole. These are my kids, Glenn and Vince. We work from Elmhurst and we've not been here before.
Welcome. We're glad you're here.
I'm already standing. My name is Janice, and this is my husband Brandon, and our kids Neil and Daisy. We're from Winfield, and this is our first time here.
Welcome. We're glad you're here. Well, welcome to everyone visiting today. Please join us after the service for coffee hour. We would love to have a chance to get to know you better. Our minister, Reverend Tom Capo, and our Director of Religious Education, Steve Cooper, and all of our members are eager to meet you. I will also be present after the service in Creeves Hall and would be happy to speak to you as well. Our service can be heard outside the glass doors at the back of the sanctuary. Should anyone feel the need to leave the service for any reason, there are chairs provided for your convenience. As we begin our service, please silence all electronic devices. Thank you.
Today, we worship as a multi-generational community. Before we begin, let us take a moment to look around at those around us sharing this space. Let us recognize the hearts of our whole community, from our elders to our youngest and all those in between. Let us embody the beauty of this all-church community, even when there's a few wiggles, giggles, and chatter. Let us remind ourselves to listen carefully and calm our minds. Begin by breathing peace and joy into this sacred space. You are surrounded by the love of this community. All are welcome.
Fabulous. Good morning. I am Reverend Tom Capo, the minister here at DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church, and this is Steve Cooper, our Director of Religious Education. And welcome all of those on YouTube who might be watching. Hello, Hayata. Okay. Today we will begin our exploration on what it means to be a people of vision. Now, first of all, we need to talk about what does vision mean. That's the ability to see is one definition. Another is a dream or supernatural revelation. For some, it's the definition is imagining. Some, it's seeing something lovely, as in a person, as a vision of loveliness. Besides those dictionary definitions, there's a definition that they use in management and nonprofits, a vision. A vision is something that a person or a group of people can have. It's kind of like a roadmap indicating where they want to be in the future. So this month, I invite you to consider your personal vision for your life, as well as the collective vision for this church. Knowing and sharing those visions with each other can help us achieve our collective goals. So what does it mean to you personally to be a person of vision? And what does it mean to us to be a congregation of vision? In every moment, we look forward or behind to the hopeful horizon or the hard road beneath our feet. We return to this church to remember that we are whichever vision of ourselves and of this church that we choose to embrace.
In our time for gathering this morning, I have a wisdom tale from the northern European countries of Lithuania and Latvia. Once upon a time, a farming couple had 3 sons. As happens in many families, the 2 older boys often bragged to the youngest about how much stronger and smarter they were. When all the boys grew up and were ready to make their own ways into the world, their parents realized they only had enough resources to build one house for one of their children. So they built a brand new house and told their 3 sons, "Whoever can fill the house will be the one to own it." The oldest son, he was sure he could fill it up and claim it for his own. He brought in a horse and a cow and a pig, but they only took up a corner of the house. The second son smiled to himself because he was sure that he would win the house when he filled it. And he brought in bale after bale after bale of hay. But even with all the bales he could find on their farm, it only filled half the house. Then it was the youngest brother's turn. His brothers laughed as they watched him bring just one small sack. But then the youngest brother took a candle out of the sack. And he lit it. Light shone brightly from the candle, filling the whole house. So neither of the older brothers, who always thought they were stronger and smarter than the youngest, got the house. It was the youngest brother who understood what it really took to fill a house. The younger brother had a vision to understand that a small flame could illuminate the whole house. Now please rise and body your spirit and join me in singing hymn number 116 in the gray hymnal, "This Little Light of Mine." The words will be projected.
This little light of mine.
the meaning of the story that Steve just shared? I can tell you, me and probably many of you, as we listen to the story, we kind of imagine it in our head. You know, as anybody tells a story, we kind of picture the pieces. Did you too try to figure out a way to fill up that house? And I thought, well, let's see. You could put pebbles in the house, fill up the whole house with pebbles. But then, you know, you couldn't get in the house, so that would be kind of problematic. Or you could try filling it with water. But, you know, probably all just kind of, you'd go out of the house and make everything mush. And it's probably not a very good idea either. Did you have one of those kind of aha moments when, you know, the youngest brother said, oh, he got the candle, he lit it and filled up the whole house. Wow, this guy's really clever. Well, I listen to the story differently many times. You know, I think, what does this story mean to me? And then what does the story mean to this church? And so, when we think about our vision for this church, we might think like the sons. Some of us might envision a congregation in which people all have the same basic belief system about life, the universe, everything. And we might be pretty sure that every Sunday service should be a reflection of that one belief. Some people might even try to convince others in the church that they should hold this just one belief. But my belief about that is that it would only occupy one small corner of the church and then call it filled. Some of us might hold a vision that the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism should be the only thing that the congregation needs to fill our house. But the principles are descriptive of what many of us value, but not all of us. And perhaps if we think of every Sunday service should include somehow or another the 7 principles, well, that's one perspective. And perhaps that would fill half the house, and half the congregation would be satisfied with the Sunday service. But what if we broaden our vision and envision a congregation that believes that everybody is welcome, no matter if they hold different beliefs or even different values? They embrace the idea that each and every person has their own way of understanding life, the universe, everything. They believe that there's a reason to celebrate because every single person in this church has something to offer every other person in this church. And that we are enriched when we understand both our similarities and our differences. And what if the light generated by this creative mixing of all of our different truths and understanding were like that candle, except we have like a disco ball in the middle of the church, and the light would flick off the disco ball and go out in all different directions and light this church up in different ways and colors and textures and all kinds of stuff. A rainbow of viewpoints and beliefs. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And what would our church look like then? What would it feel like? Perhaps it would be a shared vision of community that loves everyone enough to live in the creative tension of our differences. A vision that would model for the world beyond these walls that you can hold different beliefs, different values, and yet still be in beloved community. Respectful, open, vulnerable, civil with one another, embracing the worth and dignity of all of our differences, knowing that each person is important. And as we grow our minds and hearts together, maybe this could be part of a vision or a roadmap for the future of this church. And so I ask you, how does this idea this wonderful, interesting, multifaceted disco ball church fit with your vision of this church?
Imagine, if you will, the ocean. Picture the ocean in your mind's eye. Imagine the expanse stretching in every direction to the horizon, an open vastness of water. On every side around you, see its color, the size and the strength of its waves. And now imagine that in this vast sea, you are sitting on a boat. See the boat itself as it floats in that wide, open sea. See the boat's color and shape and size. And see yourself clearly and fully as you sit on that boat. Now let us leave our imagining and come back to our chairs together in this sanctuary. And let me ask, when we first imagined the ocean, how many of us first imagined ourselves at the sea's edge rather than being in the middle of the ocean? A few people. When the directions got specific as to being in the middle of the ocean, how many of us imagined ourselves on a calm sea? And how many on a choppy or stormy sea? And now the boat. How many of us imagined ourselves on a big boat, a ship even? And how many imagined ourselves in a small boat, all by ourselves, alone in the vast sea? Well, there, of course, are no right or proper answers to this. But it is quite telling how many of us, when asked to imagine such things, picture ourselves alone in the midst of a vast sea, rather than choosing to see ourselves in a large boat, along with many other people, imagining ourselves alone and adrift in an empty sea. Is this also how we imagine our life? Is this how we imagine our spiritual journey? Let's sing. Rise and body your spirit. We're going to sing number 298, Wake Now My Senses. The words will be projected.
Feel the deep
favorite things as a parent was taking my kids to see Disney and Pixar movies. The producers of these movies understood that parents are going to have to sit through these movies too. So they needed to be entertaining and relevant to all ages. And my favorite scene is from Shrek 2. After Donkey was charmed into a beautiful white horse, and he and Shrek were being chased through the forest by the castle guards. Suddenly, in the movie, everything went into slow motion, and there was a radio voiceover breaking news about the police, or the castle guards, chasing a slow white Bronco through the forest. You guys get it? My kids were laughing because of the antics of Donkey and Shrek trying to escape the guards, and I was on the floor laughing because it was a parody of this famous white Bronco chase. The movie producers were able to entertain me with the exact same scene they were entertaining my kids with, even though it had different meaning and reference between us. I found that after watching the same movie with my kids, we each took away something different for some parts, and other parts we saw the same thing. What I have found is that people can look at the exact same image and see different things. What are we looking at? Rabbit. Duck. Rabbit. Duck. Rabbit. You can tell a group a story, and each person will envision it differently. Some will see exactly what you described, and others will look into what you did not say and create a shape from that empty space. Of course, there'll be others that might have a completely different image altogether. This is the magic that happens when we get together on Sunday mornings with all different ages. Rev Tom and I can share a story or a lesson, and there's something in it for everyone. Our vision for this year is that everyone should start Sunday morning together as a community. And whether the children stay for the whole service or they go to classes after the time to gather, everyone will continue to engage in the same message for the day. Each person will have their own perspective on what they take away, but yet in the car, on the drive home, during dinner, the discussions, everyone can be a part of that conversation.
I hope everybody got a little thing to color. Excellent, excellent. All ages, you know, because something comes out when you draw a picture. Of course, I see a lot of people who like flip the page over and don't even pay attention to the little drawing and just kind of draw their own thing. So what do you see on the wall? Dog, right? Okay. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Well, perhaps it's an image of a dog, but you might be able to see the owner of the dog in the picture too. So, yeah, you were right. You were turning your head. So look for that. We had somebody actually who saw it last time. Okay, now go to the next slide and let's see if we see it. Turn your head a little. Can you see the owner of the dog there? Oh. You still can't. So it's over here. The hat's right there. It's the ear. It's the ear of the dog. So anyway, so here's the thing. How would you describe this image to a person that can't see? or someone who's colorblind, or someone who doesn't know what a dog is. Throughout this month, we're going to explore vision and are we a people of vision. But as we do, I want us to be aware that there are people that join us perhaps sometimes, who are blind or colorblind. And for them, the word vision might make them feel a little left out, or it might hurt their feelings. Some might even say that the word vision is discriminatory or unjust. Well, some of us out here might say, well, that's just being a little too picky. Why can't they just get over a word? Well, here's the thing. This world that we live in and the words that we use are based on people whose bodies are whole. Bodies in which every part works as it's supposed to. Bodies that smell, taste, touch, feel physical sensation, differentiate color. What about those people whose bodies aren't the same as many of ours? Or don't function in the way many of us have our bodies functioning? One of the things we do here at DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church is we try to be radically inclusive. We worked at that. We have an AIM committee now that's helping us to do that. We have pronouns on our name tags now. Cheers with arms in our sanctuary for people who have trouble getting up. We have a new patio poured very recently for those who might have wheels as they travel around on their wheelchairs. We have assisted listening devices and large print hymnals. And we're going to have a hearing loop very soon. What about other things like Braille materials or large print materials in our library? Or perhaps having closed caption for all the parts of the service, including the sermon. Is that too bold for us to consider? Maybe. We all know that when it comes down to it, we're all different. Yet we want to be part of a united, beloved community. Trying to be radically inclusive and understanding of many of our differences is important for this community. And I really think that being radically inclusive is at least part of the vision of this church and will lead us into the future. But here's my wondering. Is there a larger vision for our church? A larger roadmap that will lead us forward? A larger vision that we can all embrace. We can all own. I was thinking about how to go about doing this. And I started with the idea that we're all puzzle pieces. So we're all different. Each one of us that are here. Different sizes, different shapes, different colors, different needs, beliefs. And how do we put all those puzzle pieces together? Because part of what we have to do is put the puzzle pieces together in a kind of a community, united community, in order to develop a vision. But here's the thing. Every week, new puzzle pieces join us. And so how do we complete the puzzle? And what about those who've been here for a long time? The puzzle pieces, who maybe wonder if they still fit into the puzzle quite the same way that they used to. So how do we put all the puzzle pieces together with all the new puzzle pieces and the old puzzle pieces? We have to do all that to try to get some understanding of who we are. And then maybe from there, create a vision of who we want to be. In essence, we are working on our puzzle while journeying together to who knows where. Next slide. Oh, there we go. Okay. You know, I guess I don't see today that there is a grand vision that everyone here embraces that's leading us forward. A vision that we can all own. That says, this is our vision for the future of this church. It's like we're on a big cruise liner. I'm not a little boat person. So I'm on a big cruise liner, headed out to sea, and we have all these little disparate puzzle pieces trying to fit themselves together. Right now, I can say a few things about our journey. It's not about I or any single person's needs, wants, feelings, beliefs. It's about we, all of us. How we, all ages, all abilities, all members and friends of this church, want our journey to be. Together with all our strengths and weaknesses, talents and skills, needs and feelings, beliefs and values, abilities and limitations. And I do believe that we all want to go someplace or have as our heading someplace that's wonderful and interesting and stimulating and beautiful. And as we journey together on our big ship, we pass some time trying to see how we fit together without throwing anybody overboard. And we pass some time trying to figure out a vision for the church, knowing that whatever vision we choose will not last forever. Revelation is not sealed. In other words, what we know about life, the universe, and everything will change, and we will have to incorporate that new understanding into whatever future vision we have. We are not static. The world is not static. But right now, without a clear vision, without all our puzzle pieces fitting together just right, we still are responsible for some things. We're responsible for not making sure that the boat doesn't sink, that all the people on the boat get some needs met, and that we teach each other, young and old, about the importance of our community, how we value each and every puzzle piece that joins us here, and that we value the journey, a journey that hopefully leads us to deeper understanding of ourselves, deeper relationships with each other, deeper connection with Mother Earth or the universe or the sacred. And I also think that as we are on this journey, we're not going to just stay on the boat or stay in the church. We're going to go beyond these walls. This is just something that we do. It's who we are. And we go beyond these walls to understand the variety and complexity of worldviews that exist. And we go beyond these walls to try to make a positive difference in the world. Again, I think that's just who we are. Steve and I and Mary and all the people who are working on this whole church ministry are going to be offering lots of ways for all of you to engage with each other, sharing your similarities and your differences, trying to find ways maybe you fit together and maybe ways you don't as easily fit together. And perhaps in this sharing a vision for where we want to head in the future will emerge. A vision we can all embrace. Maybe a vision that will bind us all together, at least for a time, so that we can wholeheartedly work for the future of this church that we all love. So, my friends, as we head into this month of vision, let us adventure boldly and explore.
Unitarian Universalism is a grand vision of a world filled with peace and justice, love and joy. That vision is embodied in a few large congregations, numerous mid-sized congregations, and many, many small congregations. No matter its size, every congregation depends on each of its members, each one of you. By your commitment of time, energy, and resources, help make that grand vision real. Individually and together, we are Unitarian Universalists building a world filled with peace, justice, love, and joy. We will now receive the offering.
To extinguish our chalice. Before we do that, I did want to mention that we have in our order of service a little box that says, what do you think about the service, essentially? You know, what moved you, what challenged you, those kind of things. If you have an opportunity, please fill it out. It helps us as a Sunday service committee as we co-create these services. And so your feedback is most helpful to us. So we're now going to extinguish our chalice, but let us carry its flame in our hearts as we ponder the vision for the future of this church, and then how we will live out that vision as a beloved community. I invite you now to rise in body of spirit. We're going to do something that's fun and interesting and wonderful and amazing. Jim is going to lead us in. I can see clearly now.
Wow, the expectations. Okay, anybody who can, please rise and sing like nobody's listening, and if you are so moved, dance like you don't need the money.
Amen. Amen.
Right there.
All right.
can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that pass me by. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Think I can make it now, the pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is my rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue Cause clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, bright.
I forgot my sunglasses. Okay. All right. Here are closing words for today by Reverend Samuel Trembori. Find and walk the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads to happiness, peace, and ease. Welcome the stranger and open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous before the forces of hate, and hold and embody a vision of the common good that serves the needs of all people, here and beyond these walls. Now I invite you to turn around and greet one another. Let us share the love of this community with one another. Ooh, something on the floor. Oh,